Over the last few years, I have spent a lot of time in the kitchen just cooking and making food. It's something I've done since I was a kid, but over the last several years in particular, it's become just this really good and valuable source of creativity and reflection for me to just spend some time making a new dish, finding a new recipe, and a lot of times just experimenting and trying new things. And one of the things that I've learned during that time is that just as the ingredients that you use for cooking are important, so too are the utensils and the tools that you bring to the table, literally speaking, of what you're cooking in. And so today what I want to do is I want to talk about a few different types of cooking pots that I've used or cooking utensils that have really caused me to think differently about the work of cooking, but also what it means for us as leaders. Because you're a student leader. That means that you've been invited into a season of influencing the lives of others. And that's a worthy call. That's something important. So just as I get a sense of satisfaction of feeding my friends and family a really well-cooked meal, I hope you find so many opportunities this year that bring that same sense of satisfaction that you've been part of something really valuable in creating meaning and purpose and belonging that people can gather around on your campus. So I want to focus in on three different types of pans or pots that I have used in the kitchen that have caused me to learn something about leadership, and I hope you learn along the way with me. So the first one I want to start with is stainless steel. When I think about stainless steel, this is so principled, right? It is so professional. There is something about this. You can walk into any commercial kitchen and you'll see dozens of these stainless steel pots or pans in that context. And these are durable. They do not react quickly. They do take a while to get up to heat, and they require some skill, right? You've got to get good at cooking to use this well. There's a lot of versatility that you can do. I have made soups in this. I have made a lot of different stocks. This is a pan and a type of material that has so many different possible functions. And so that's what leadership is, right? Is figuring out what is the right setting and what is the right material for this setting, and how can I make sure I bring the right tool to it. So stainless steel plays such a part in being durable, in being long lasting, in getting up to heat and holding heat well for a while. But there are some drawbacks. And so when we think about leadership, just as this can get up to heat and stay at heat for a while, it can also, that means that sometimes it's going to take a while for it to change. And so we need to think, is our leadership style adaptable enough? Is this allowing me to change quickly to what I need? This can also be unforgiving. This took a lot of time for me to figure out how to use appropriately. And it doesn't show up well on camera, but there are some scorch marks inside because there are moments where I had it at too high of a heat or not high enough of a heat, and the food that I put in got ruined, but so also did the pan a little bit. And so when you are thinking about your leadership, I want you to think, okay, what is the durability, right? There is some strength, there is some integrity to this vessel, just as there needs to be strength and integrity to your leadership style. We want to see that consistency. We want to see that strong moral compass, that stainless steel, that sense of permanence that this pot brings. We want to see that in your leadership. And so I think of Servant Leadership by Greenleaf in the 70s, where it prioritized that sense of legacy, that I am here to care for people, not for myself, but for the sake of those who I'm caring about. And I'm prioritizing the service to others because I act with integrity. I am fair. I am impartial. But I don't want to make sure. I want to make sure that I don't miss a chance to be durable, to be non-reactive, and to require a degree of professionalism to be able to do this well. So stainless steel pots have such a value for cooking, and so too can bring some good reminders for us as leaders. So that's one type of pot that I use. The other type that I've used is a glass pot, and this is a pan. This is like a baking dish, and what I love about this is that it invites transparency, right? You can still see my face through this pan. There is trust that's invited when I cook with this. Everything is on display. You can't not see what's happening in this pan. And so there's some strengths to it that it's not reactive. Glass kind of gets up to a temperature and it stays pretty consistent. It retains the heat well. And just like we want for your leadership, we want it to not be reactive. We want it to be transparent. We want you as a student leader to be human. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed, and in fact, there are times where it's encouraged to share that, hey, I'm struggling with something. I want you to see through what I'm going through because that invites trust building. But there are some weaknesses to glass as well. There are settings that I've used this stainless steel pan in that I would never use this glass pan in, because this glass pan has the weakness of being fragile. Under extreme heat or under extreme stress, this can shatter pretty easily. So we may value its openness, we may value the clarity that it gives us, we may value a lot of that accountability that's inherent in the design of this vessel, but we also have to recognize that it has some vulnerabilities as well. And so you have to think about your leadership through that lens as well. Where is a transparent leadership style appropriate? And where is it unhelpful? Where is it going to cause others to not get what they need from your leadership because this is the wrong time to bring that transparency? Or maybe you're bringing glass leadership to a moment that's going to require too much stress on you and it's going to cause you to shatter and fall apart. And so where I might think about servant leadership for stainless steel because it's prioritizing others and really focusing well on them, I think of trust-based leadership by Covey in the early 2000s, where it focused on those elements of transparency and honesty and building mutual respect. And as a student leader, that is such a key because you are at the same life stage of so many of the people that you're going to be leading. And so they're going to see right through you. They're going to see that you don't have it all together, and that's okay. You just need to learn how to leverage that well to be able to say, hey, you seeing what's going on under the surface is actually part of the whole deal. Like, that's what I'm doing as a student leader. There's high accountability, there's openness, but we want to make sure too that you're leaning on your supervisors, because as a student leader, if you get into a high pressure situation where you're overwhelmed, where you feel like shattering, then we need to be able to help step in and say, hey, this is not the right setting. We might need to work on developing something that's a little bit more like stainless steel for this setting. And then finally, I want to talk about my third and my favorite, and this is cast iron. This came over on the Mayflower with one of my ancestors. I'm just kidding. I have no family members that came over on the Mayflower that I'm aware of. But what I love about this cast iron, I got it for like $5 at a yard sale maybe 5 years ago, is that this thing, if we're talking about durability with this, it is even more so with this guy. This, I have made more fried chicken and deep dishes and so many good meals in this, so many soups. I made dumplings in this one time that were incredible. My point is that this is a resilient piece of hardware. If I take good care of this, it'll last generations. My grandkids could conceivably use this. And in fact, I looked it up when I got it, and this was built sometime in the 40s. So this pan has been around for over 80 years. It has a lot of opportunity for a versatility of uses, but it's not easy to use right out of the gate. And what I learned about cast iron when I started my journey with cast iron a handful of years ago is you have to do a lot of work to season this. You know, you can see this is a very shiny pan. This pan started out very rough. I got it in a very well seasoned state, and I've had to do a lot of seasoning to it, but this is a form of leadership that takes a lot of opportunity, or it takes a lot of investment over time for us to be able to use it when the opportunity calls for it. There's a lot of maintenance with it. I think that's a good word for it. And when we think about our leadership, do we think about the maintenance that our leadership requires, that I need to season myself before I can really expect to make anything beautiful out of it? There is some heaviness to it. I love that for the durability. And leadership is going to call for a lot of durability from you. Are you prepared to be around for generations, for your impact to last? But at the same time, what I love about the durability is also one of the hardest parts. This retains heat really well. So I can finish cooking, and an hour later, there'll still be some heat when I reach out to grab the handle. So there's some value in that it is capable of doing a really good job for a long time, but it also means that it can be very slow to change. And so my encouragement is, as we're practicing leadership, and I think of the transformational leadership model when I think of this, this pan. When we're practicing transformation or leadership, where we're inspiring and motivating that long-term change and recognizing that what we're doing has an impact for legacy, for generations to come, are we building that strong culture? Are we practicing the maintenance required? And at the end of the day, are we recognizing that sometimes we need to be a little bit more transparent, or that we need to build some professionalism and be able to come up to heat quicker and then come back down a little bit quicker than maybe our cast iron is giving us? So as we think about these three, right, we've got three different visual images of what our leadership could look like here. And you might be tempted to say, okay, well, I'm going to be a glass leader, or I'm going to be a stainless steel leader, or I'm going to be cast iron. And that's always been my temptation as well, is to say, well, like, one of these is the right kind. And that's not the point. The point is, there are going to be situations throughout your day as a student leader where you need to be a glass pan leader, where you practice transparency and build trust. But that might be the wrong setting that's going to allow you to stay durable, to be able to stay at the right temperature and to be well seasoned for the long haul. And so sometimes you need to lean more on a different type of leadership and focus on the seasoning of yourself. And then there are other times where you need to recognize, yeah, this calls for professionalism. Maybe not the transparency that I'm tempted to give that the glass pan reminds me of, but I need to recognize that this calls for kind of that commercial approach of saying there's a professional way to show up in this moment. So all three of these types of pans can show us different types of leadership. And my encouragement to you is to just, as you go through your day, recognize that something might call for, the situations you're in, something might call for something different. And that is a good thing to practice, is to just adapt as the situation calls for a different type of leadership. That's not being incongruent with who you are. That's not being someone who doesn't have integrity. I think sometimes I worry about that. Like, am I the same person with every person I'm with? Sometimes our leadership situations call for us to show up in a way that is different for one person than it is for another, or in one situation than it is for another. So that's my encouragement to you. The work you do as a student leader is so important, and every single way that you show up can be beneficial and valuable. It just matters what the situation calls for.